Well,
Welcome.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while, and it's been so long that we still haven't resolved the Who intro is the thing. Welcome, one and all, to Carbony Bronze.
Yep, that's what we're going with.
It's the best title I could think of.
Oh, okay.
I am Chris.
Altered bronze? Because we're not. We're not doing an ordinary podcast.
Altered Carbony might be best.
Or
maybe altered comedy.
We can figure it out between now and when we put these up, I guess.
I vote Carbony Bronze.
Okay.
Introduce yourself to the listeners who have forgotten.
I'm Sean. We haven't done this in a year and a half?
More like 2, but about that time, yeah.
Jesus.
And I'm Chris, as I muttered before, and I'd like to introduce a special guest, the spider, who's taken up residence in my DVD case.
Is it a big spider?
It's quite small, but his web is extensive.
Okay.
I'm keeping an eye on the situation.
Was it a jumping spider? Is it like a money spider, or...?
Listen, I investigated the matter only enough to shine a torch at it and go, ugh, spider. Any hoozles.
Realize it wasn't too scary and then get on with your life?
It's scary. It's plenty scary.
Okay.
I don't like the spiders.
So, we're doing a podcast about Netflix's adaptation of Altered Carbon, which is a book by Richard K. Morgan, which came out in the early 2000s.
That it did, and that we are.
Mm-hmm. The show, Netflix show, was released about 3 days ago. We've both only watched the first episode. Do you want to give an overview of just the book story? Or do we just want to take episode by episode and compare to what we know of the book for that fraction of
I think
the show?
a synopsis of the broad shape of the story would be useful. I don't think we'll give a complete rundown of the plot of the book, because that's just going to come out naturally in our discussions of the episodes, as are the divergences. So if you want to just take a whack at a summary of the old book there.
I actually wrote one earlier today.
Oh, nice. I also took notes of the first episode. I feel very professional.
I didn't take notes because I only watched it about half an hour ago. I finished it. So I didn't think I would need notes because I was going in quite a bit fresher than you are. But it's set, so Altered Carbon is set in the 26th century. Death is practically a thing of the past, where breakthroughs in medical technology mean that at birth, every human is fitted with what's called a cortical stack.
It's not at birth, it's 1 year old or 1 month old?
No, it is at birth in the book, they say it. They say a year in the show.
Ah.
Yeah, which is why I pointed that out.
I've done it wrong.
Yeah. So as soon as you're born, they stick something in your spine or just below your brain that starts recording everything that you are, or all neurological.
It's just a backup of your consciousness, basically.
Yeah. All electrical impulses can be recorded by this thing. So if your physical body dies, they can just take that thing and stick it in something else, or load it into one that's already in another body. Death is... Yeah,
they tend not to surgically transplant them. They just download you and re-sleeve you, as the terminology says.
Yes. Yeah. And placed in a new sleeving. But not all sleeves are created equal. So the wealthy can, as always, afford whatever they want, really. So if they want to be an 8-foot tall dragon man, they can do that. Or if they just want infinite clones of themselves, some of them can afford that too. But pretty much everybody else, you don't get to pick your new sleeve. You just get one, whatever you can afford.
That's not true.
Well, you get whatever you can afford.
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, you won't accidentally be the wrong race or ethnicity if you don't want it. You can... basic sleeving up, unless you're a criminal, in which case you get whatever's available when you're pulled out of storage.
Or there really is nothing on hand, except for one old blind guy.
No, they're vat grown. They're made to order. That's not a concern.
But there's also synthetic bodies. But nobody likes the synthetic bodies.
I'm not sure exactly what the difference between a synthetic and a non-synthetic body is. I assume they have more mechanical components and fewer biological ones. And they're just generally shoddier.
So basically, at some time before the book starts, humanity figured out how to like upload and download consciousnesses, and we also figured out space travel. So bunches of people were sent off into space either in hypersleep themselves, or we just like stuck a bunch of bodies in freezers, and then a bunch of
No. It was never bodies. It was never hypersleep. It was digitally stored humans and cloning banks.
Oh, okay.
Like the revolution of digitized humanity was what enabled space exploration, because they don't have any kind of FTL travel, so getting to another planet still takes years or decades or a century. But you can just basically send a bunch of hard disks with, a few thousand colonists on it and a machine to print bodies out at the other end.
Right. Well, so that's the basic premise for the world or the universe that this is in. But it is ostensibly the story of one Takeshi Kovacs, not Kovacs, which even though I knew it was pronounced Kovacs in the book, I kept saying Kovacs in my head over and over and over again.
Oh yeah, I read it wrong every time.
Yeah, I couldn't help myself. I was just like, that feels like Kovacs. Why wouldn't they say Kovacs? Are they just being... Is Richard K. Morgan just trying to be difficult?
In the book, they make a point of having the first person he meets mispronounce it just so he can correct them internally so you know how to say it.
Yeah. And then even before that, there's a little, like... I think there's a little bit... At least there was at the start of my copy. There was like an actual pronunciation guide for how to say his full name correctly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they broke down Takeshi Kovacs.
I don't think my copy has that.
Oh,
that's interesting.
Mine was one specifically reprinted for the show. It even had across the top of a number of the pages like Altered Carbon, new Netflix series in February 2018. It was really weird.
Okay. Well, it's like the now a major motion picture.
Yeah, but
that you see on.
But like every 50 pages, it would be in there.
I think they really wanted people to watch it, Sean.
Well, yeah, it was an EPUB, so it's not like they had to print it as well. It was just like on there. Anyway, so it's Takeshi Kovacs. In the future, he was a soldier who became something called an envoy, which is like.
It's pronounced envoy, Sean.
Yeah,
as the show teaches us.
No, it's not. It's envoy. Just like it's Kovacs. Yeah, so he's basically like a super soldier. I thought of them as like Space Marine meets Black Widow.
I mean, well, that's part of it. The remarkable thing about the envoys is, because this is very, very, very important to the setting, and it's also key to several of the bizarre changes they've made, not making any sense.
Yeah, I think I know what you're going to say now.
They never figure out FTL travel.
No.
Which means if the Protectorate... Is it the Terran Protectorate or the Earth Protectorate? Whatever.
I think they just refer to it as the Protectorate in the book as well.
The
UN
conglomerated
Protectorate.
starfaring civilization of humanity.
Yeah.
If trouble arises on one of their colony worlds and they don't have a military force right there already, by the time they get them there, the conflict will be over, one way or the other.
Yeah.
So the job of the Envoy Corps are basically people who are transmitted to worlds via needlecast, which is a technology that is never explained but is understood to be very quick.
Yeah.
Downloaded into new bodies, and then they fight the war on the ground.
Yeah.
In a time frame that is actually able to make a difference.
Well, yeah. So theoretically, they could be, out and in the field within a couple of hours.
Ideally, it's usually. I don't think it's usually that quick because there are difficulties with re-sleeving in the book. But yeah, like certainly a day or less.
Yeah, in an ideal version of their universe, it would be with like half a day. They'd be out, ready to go.
So they have a bunch of specialized training and conditioning, some of which is combat-oriented, some of which is intelligence, counterintelligence, assimilation with the local populace, that kind of thing.
Yes, quite a lot of the training seems to have been psychological in nature.
Yes, which comes up quite a lot in the book.
Well, because if the whole idea is that you need to be put into a body that already knows how to fight, you need to be able to quickly orient yourself in that body and the same situation that it's in at the same time, and then also not die. I mean, ideally, because it would probably cost a lot of money to train them.
All absolutely true. So the Envoy Corps does everything from fighting, actual civil wars to destabilizing non-compliant regimes.
Yeah.
And everything in between. And that's what Mr. Kovacs is.
Or was.
Or was.
Yeah. Now, yeah, so he was one, and then he after I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was some reason for him leaving the envoys. He went off to do his own thing.
I believe the reason stated is the excesses of Raylene Kawahara.
Oh yeah,
is the reason he left the Corps.
Yeah.
She'll matter later. The show hasn't mentioned her yet because they fucked it up. But
yeah, they
carry on.
They kind of did. They also fucked up, but anyway, we can talk about that in a minute. Yeah, so he left, and then he hooked up with some mercs or something like that, and then they went and did their own thing, and he got in trouble for it, and then his physical body got shot, and then he wakes up now, like I think it's 40 or 50 years later, or 100 years later, on a different planet. And he's been, I don't know,
no. Okay, so it's not just on a different planet. So he dies in his original sleeve on Harlan's world, which is where he's from.
Yes.
And he wakes up on Earth.
Yep. Which he's never been to.
Cradle of humanity.
And he's never been to Earth.
No, most people haven't.
So yeah, he wakes up on Earth, and the place that he gets re-sleeved at, he's like, who pulled me out? What the fuck's going on? They say, yep, you've been basically they make him an indentured servant of this place called Lawrence Bancroft.
Yeah, so the way prison works in the future is that rather than wasting time keeping a body that someone else could be using in a cell, they just download you, put you on a disc, and leave you there for the duration of your sentence.
Yep, and they give someone else your body.
And they give someone else your body, usually.
If it's not dead or something.
Well, the future is kind of aggressively hyper-capitalist, so if you can afford to pay the rental on your body to keep it on ice, you can have it when you get out.
Yeah.
But at the kind of I think Kovac is down for a full century, so
yeah,
it was very unlikely he would have been able to afford. Oh wait, no, his sleeve was destroyed at the other end anyway. His original body is gone.
He got shot to shit. So he wakes up, rich bloke. Rich bloke goes, okay, I own your ass, but I'm going to try and make it as comfortable for you as I can. Here's a bunch of money for blow and hookers, but I'd also like you to solve my murder.
And that is where our story begins.
Basically, yeah.
More or less. Should we make the assumption that people have watched the show if they're listening to this?
I would say, if they're people that we know, they've probably at least watched the first episode.
I'm just going to assume they have.
Okay. So
and proceed from there.
Well, basically what we've described is like what I just said about him being killed and then waking up back on Earth, being hired to solve some guy's murder. That's the that's the overarching plot of the first episode.
It is. Him deciding to actually take the case is
I'll take the case.
Yeah. I'll take the case. You have to do it in Birdman.
Birdman. Yeah, that's the whole first episode. So now they changed a few things.
They changed a lot of things. I'd like to step through the episode with you and sort of address the things that they changed.
Right, okay.
Well, no, just broadly. What did you think of the way the intro was done? Because there are two scenes that are at the start of the book. The first is Takeshi dying on Harlan's world at the end of a botched heist, basically.
Yeah.
And then immediately after it is him getting re-sleeved on Earth.
Yep.
Which obviously, I think it's like 40 years or something from an objective time, but it's like instantaneous for him.
Yeah.
In the show, these two scenes are intercut in a way that I think might have been confusing to people.
Well, yeah, like that's a good point. I didn't find it confusing because I was like, oh, so this is exactly what Takeshi is remembering from when he died, and then he wakes up in his mind what would have been maybe instantly or maybe 5 or 10 seconds later in a different body on a different planet. For other people, it might have been really weird.
I don't think you see the tail end of the shootout where he actually dies before you see him wake up in a new body.
No, but like maybe the guys at Netflix are actually saying our audience or the audience for this show is probably going to be clever enough to have figured that out by themselves. So we've got a guy who's in a gunfight, and then another guy being pulled out of what looks like some sort of I don't know, sandwich bag, and being plopped out into real world again. And then like before the whole scene starts, it's the same guy who's coming out of a sandwich bag, floating around in a pool for some lovely shots.
These are the things that occurred.
Yeah.
I will say that the show looks great.
Oh, they've obviously got some budget.
They threw all the money at it.
That's some like you hear about like the amount of monies that Netflix is making. They used a lot of it here.
Yeah, the shootout sequence, even though I disagree with the decision to intercut it with the re-sleeving sequence, does look great, and lots of people get shot, and it's cool. I was drawn into this taut techno thriller, Sean.
Yeah, regardless of like what I feel about the changes that I've already noticed, this is already it already looks like just a good show. Like if you'd never read the book, and you aren't like arsehole pedants like we are, you would have absolutely no problems with this show.
Possibly. We'll get into that more as we go on. I have quite a few problems with this show so far, but it's definitely not going to fail because they didn't care enough to make it look nice.
Well, I mean, like going into any adaptation of anything, you know that there's going to be some stuff there either executives going to make them change because they didn't think it would test well or whatever, or because it offended some executive's nephew, or there's going to be changes because it just wouldn't work as well on screen as it does in your head.
So I reread. You're right. I reread the book this week in preparation for this show, and as I was reading, I was like, the book is kind of just one long thing, and it doesn't divide super evenly into episodes.
No.
The first episode climax.
I actually thought about that before you go on. The only thing that would make good breaks for episodes from the book are the moments where Takeshi either becomes or falls unconscious.
Yeah, there are some neat dividing lines. You're like, oh, it's sleepy time now.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, so the way the first episode ends after the shootout at the Hendrix, which has been renamed to the Raven.
I look that
for obvious reasons.
Yeah, no, like as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, I bet someone was really unhappy.
Well, I think it's probably just they couldn't get. I should tell the people what we're talking about. So there's an AI-controlled hotel called the Raven in the show, which has a holographic version of Edgar Allan Poe as its host. In the book, the hotel is called the Hendrix, and it has a big hologram of Jimi Hendrix outside.
Yeah, playing a guitar.
I'm guessing that. Yes, and I'm guessing they either couldn't get the likeness rights to Mr. Hendrix's image, or just for sensitivity reasons they decided not to go that way. I mean, Edgar Allan Poe is safely a long time dead, so it's okay to
also
to show him.
It like with the Hendrix, well, with the Hendrix now the Raven, it could have been literally anyone famous from the last 2 centuries who is recognizable just from
Oh, sure.
look.
The point is just that it's a famous person recognizable to the audience that Kovacs doesn't know anything about.
Yes.
Because he's not from here.
No, or this time.
Dead right.
So, yeah, like it's... They're more... The Raven... Well, the Hendrix... Would it be the Raven nay Hendrix or the Hendrix nay Raven? Other way around. First one.
I forget how that works.
I do too. That's why I was wondering. So yeah, it doesn't matter. It's almost a comfort device to make like a link between the period of time that the reader is in and the time of the book.
Oh sure, it's part of the general aesthetic of Altered Carbon. The book at least. I don't think they're achieving this super well in the show so far, and I'll explain why.
Well, it's because someone saw Blade Runner and were like, "Oh, let's make that."
Yeah, well, no, but even Blade Runner did this better. Like
not new Blade Runner.
New Blade Runner absolutely does it.
Really?
Yeah.
I felt like that with the old Blade Runner because you could see, that set's made out of someone's garage.
There's a protracted sequence when Deckard and Driver, what's the fucking guy's name? Who's the Ryan Gosling?
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling finally meets Deckard takes place in like an old ass hotel that has been retrofitted with holographic dancers and stuff.
Yeah,
Like
I
that.
guess.
That's the Blade Runner aesthetic, in which Altered Carbon borrows shamelessly from. It's the current world with a bunch of future shit bolted on top.
Mm. And you're thinking that they're not going to be able to do that very much in this show.
Well, I think they've chosen not to. The interior of the Raven looks. Okay,
like,
so this
like is it just made that way because that's how they thought it would be made, or have they actually taken an old hotel and just fitted an AI to it?
Yeah, I think the AI hotels were. I always imagined the Hendrixes looking kind of like a public shower block at the street level, where only the rooms were nice.
Yeah, I was thinking like government housing, like a big government housing.
Certainly not. Like the bottom area is publicly accessible and probably wouldn't be all that nice. It's got like a cool fold away bar which is all decked out with clocks and shit.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that so much. I think the Raven looks fine, looks appropriate. The police building where he gets re-sleeved and comes out kind of looks like a modern day building because surprise, surprise, it is.
Well, that would make sense. It would be,
and a lot
building.
of the scuzzier areas of Licktown that he runs around in look alright. The place where it really falls over is the way they've chosen to depict Suntouch House, which is where Lawrence Bancroft lives.
Yeah, on top of a spire instead of
on top of this fucking ludicrous ocean spire 1,000,000 miles high.
Yeah.
In the book, it's just a nice house.
Like it's outside the city limits, I think.
Yeah, it's down by the beach, but it's just a big property with a nice house.
Like they just yeah. But then again, like at that point, even with the amount of money he had, Bancroft, he would have had to have had that money the entire time. Oh well, yeah. I'm just trying to think about like land ownership.
It's not necessarily about the practicalities of him having money. It's just that kind of thing would be ludicrously inconvenient for lots of reasons.
Well, I think the idea behind the meths, and that's short for Methuselahs, because they live for shitloads of time, and we'll get.
Yeah, these are the people who can afford to get themselves re-sleeved indefinitely, so they live for hundreds of years.
And I think Bancroft is like 400 years old or something like that, or just shy of it. So I think with him, like, it's not a problem for him to make something this inconvenient because it's only inconvenient for everybody else, not for him.
Well, it is inconvenient for him because he has to fly to and from it every day. But
he's super fucking rich. Why?
My larger point is that all the big impressive landmarks in the book are reclaimed things. Like Suntouch House is just a nice house somewhere.
Wow.
The Panama Rose, which is where the Ultimate Fighting Championships take place.
Yeah, future UFC.
Future UFC is a big ass boat that has been retrofitted as a fighting ring.
Like a really big ass boat.
The Free Trade Enforcer, which is a much bigger boat, is a theater district in an adjacent town, is a beached aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
Which has been retrofitted as a theater. Even the Head in the Clouds, which is the whorehouse that the climax of the novel takes place at, is a weather engineering airship thing that was bought by Raylene Kawahara and retrofitted to be a flying whorehouse. Like, none of these things are bespoke. They're all repurposed, built from the old, which is a kind of deliberate statement that the book was making.
Yeah.
Which they've just jettisoned wholesale in the show to, I think, its ultimate detriment, Sean.
Also, where are the Catholics?
Oh, yeah. So a big part of the book is that Catholics don't believe in
re-sleeving.
Don't believe in re-sleeving. They don't believe in downloading. They believe that the moment your consciousness is spun back up after you've died, you are damned to hell.
Yeah.
But I think they eventually call them Catholics in the show, but they dance around it for a while. They refuse to use the word.
No, they in the first episode at least, they don't use the word Catholic. They use the word archdiocese. But not the word
subtle
Catholic.
Clue.
Yeah, but no, they don't out and say it's the fucking Pope.
By the way, the fact that people can be revived and asked who killed them is a very important thing in this world, and the fact that Catholics generally won't is also a very important thing in this story.
Yeah, once So it makes me think that Richard Morgan might have a problem with the Catholics.
I think he just picked the oldest, richest, most powerful religious institution on Earth, and the one that was most likely to have a problem with this shit.
Yeah,
I think he made a good guess.
Oh no, he definitely did. It was just right for the picking, especially because at the time that the book was produced, a lot of the whole Catholic Church kitty fiddlers for hundreds of years and been hiding it thing was still quite recently being exposed by
the wave was still swelling, not necessarily cresting.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, I don't know if he's deliberately I don't think that. Obviously, I'm not Richard K. Morgan, and I cannot read his mind.
No.
But I don't think he's necessarily taking a swing in that direction.
No, I think he's just seeing the low hanging fruit. And he's like, oh, this will work. But then, that's just me making an assumption, because I'm of the belief.
My assumption was to credit him with foresight and deep thinking.
Oh no, I think everywhere else that's definitely occurring, but with a possible big bad, it's just who's big and bad around now that might be here in the future? Catholic Church, that'll do.
Well, the Catholics aren't the big bad. They're a plot element.
Well, they're a big bad, sort of.
Yeah, all right. I should clarify. You haven't read the later.
No, I haven't. I haven't read the other two books.
So, in the third book, Kovac spends a decent amount of time abducting religious extremists. By abducting, I mean murdering them, cutting out their stacks, then having them re-sleeved in swamp panthers and forced to fight until they're insane.
Swamp panthers?
Yeah, they're a life form on Harlan's world.
Okay.
I think their name speaks for themselves.
Yeah.
So it's possible. I mean, he definitely, the character, I mean, not the author, definitely has some problem with religion, especially when it forbids revival for stupid reasons.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway, if I could just tick down my notes here, Sean.
Oh, sorry. Keep going.
So immediately after Kovac is re-sleeved in Download Central, we get a scene where a bunch of people in their new sleeves sit in a classroom while a holographic woman explains the technology that they've all lived with their entire lives.
That's clearly there for people who haven't read the book.
I mean, yes, that is clearly there for people who haven't read the book.
And it's even clearly there for people who don't really normally watch sci-fi. Even
I don't think having watched sci-fi would allow you to automatically absorb the details of this story.
But you'd probably be more likely to. Or
possibly.
At least hazard a guess at what's going on.
It's like that they subtly imply that the Asian fellow and the white fellow are the same guy with a reflective...
A screaming reflection?
A screaming reflection.
Although when I saw that, I thought that's a very interesting way of doing something that is in the book. He talks about the moment when you look in the mirror and see your new sleeve and you have to reconcile with the fact that that's you now. Yeah, and he talks about in my memory, he describes it as falling into himself. And so the screaming thing, and then his face just slamming into the other face to replace it. I thought that was a clever idea, but because there's no way that you can correctly portray something that's psychologically scarring in a TV show.
I guess. I think it was pretty much everything about the show so far has been more abrupt, more violent, and louder than the book. Moment when he comes to himself is he's just in a bathroom somewhere with a mirror. He certainly isn't having a fist fight with the people who just revived him.
No.
That's an invention unique to the show.
Well, I mean, it wasn't really a fist fight. He punched one guy in the face and started choking the other guy out. Until he got a reflective surface.
It's a triumphant fist fight.
Mm-hmm. What's next on your list of things?
All right. So, at 14 minutes into the episode, I remember the time.
Oh, there's timestamps.
Oh no, that's the only one that's time-stamped. Okay. I realized that they'd fucked everything.
Right.
And that the show was irretrievably ruined.
At 14 minutes, you say?
14 minutes. It's roughly 14. It was actually particularly funny because I got to 14 minutes and I thought, well, this is fucked. And then I pressed play and it got even more fucked.
Right. Is this the bit with Quellcrest?
Apparently it's pronounced Kelchrist, but there we go. No, so... geez, where to begin?
Mm-hmm.
So the woman who gets a stack blown out in the opening sequence
Yep.
is Sarah Silchergov. I don't know how to say her last name. It's some
Sarah.
Sarah, incomprehensibly Slavic surname, who Kovac is pretty close with, and who's is going to be used as leverage against him later in the story.
Yeah, and he cuts a deal specifically for her.
Yeah, but not in this version, because she's irretrievably dead after getting her stack blown out by some jerk.
Some angry space German.
Some angry space Germans. So
Well, the only thing I thought about that is, oh no, they fucked it. Oh, hang on a second. Maybe Bancroft will be like, oh, I know about all this that happened, and she's not dead. I have her on ice.
Yeah, no, she was.
I mean, it wouldn't make sense.
The guy was pretty expressly looking to real death her.
Yeah.
So the thing that it
was all a setup, and this has all been a dream. Inception.
I mean, anything's possible if anything could be a dream.
Yeah, and then it just pans down to that top spinning on the table.
It's like everything is Inception now.
Yeah.
Guys, the Looney Tunes reboot is on.
Oh,
which
reminds me, they're making more Animaniacs.
I had heard they're making more Animaniacs, yes.
We'll get to that eventually. When
not
it comes
in this
out.
series, we won't.
No, not in this series. Keep going.
Carbony Bronze, episode 12. What about them Animaniacs? I've decided by fiat it's Carbony Bronze, I'm sorry.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, you're the one who's probably going to be paying for the hosting and all that, so you...
I'm still paying for the goddamn hosting.
Okay, that seems odd.
Well, inside baseball, I downgraded it to like $12 a year instead of paying for the monthly one.
Oh,
basically, we don't have any upload bandwidth at all anymore, so I'm not sure how we're going to upload this. Possibly we'll just dump them on YouTube.
Maybe. You can make a little video to go with it.
I think I'll probably use a still image.
What about a series of still images?
I could probably use... that's ambitious.
I think you can manage it. With all your free time.
We didn't want to drag this out forever, so...
No, but I did say before we recorded that we would ramble.
We are noted ramblers.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that they fucked, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that they fucked, and it breaks pretty much everything to do with the setting and the characters and the story, and I'm not sure why they thought this was a smart idea.
So the whole idea, really.
They've kind of fucked everything. So the Envoy Corps, in this version of the tale, are not the shock troopers / covert agents of the Protectorate.
Yeah.
They are instead the private army of Kelchrist Falconer.
Yep. And her movement of Quellists, I think they were called.
Yes, or Kellists.
I'm not sure.
You may well ask, who is Kelchrist Falconer?
Well, they haven't answered that question yet in the show.
No, but I'll answer it for you.
Yeah.
Kelchrist Falconer was a revolutionary on Harlan's world from hundreds of years before Kovac was born.
And philosopher.
And she was a philosopher. Well, many revolutionaries are philosophers, Sean. You don't arrive at revolution without thinking about it at least a little.
That's true.
I'm taking a drink.
Fair enough.
All right, there we go. So we've and a lot of the dialogue that she has, she appears as like a hallucination / flashback several times in this episode, and most of her dialogue is stuff that was said by Virginia Vedora, who was the envoy trainer, who inducted Kovac when he joined the Corps. But she apparently also features in it. I looked at the IMDb credits, so they've given a bunch of her lines to Kelchrist for reasons.
Okay.
So the reason that this makes no fucking sense is, well, for one, they can't adapt the third book because the fact that Kelchrist is long dead is kind of important to it. But that aside, the Envoy Corps doesn't make sense as part of a revolutionary movement, because the only reason it can exist is because the Protectorate has a massive pool of people to sieve for the qualities that make a good envoy, which very, very few people meet. Also, the Kellists only ever fought on Harlan's world, which makes all the resleeving training pointless.
Yep.
And God, they would not have been able to create the Envoy Corps. Said Chris, claiming that this art has no truth and that this fictional universe doesn't conform to my standards. And even if they could, it wouldn't have been the best expenditure of their resources at the time.
Yes.
So as a consequence of this,
also,
okay,
there's one other one that you haven't mentioned. It might be because of how glaringly obvious it is. Also, that it means their name doesn't make any sense.
That's true. They never go anywhere. How could they be envoys? What am I an envoy to? Just kind of where we're standing, but a little bit over there. Just over there.
Yeah.
Go over that hill and envoy some missiles at those clowns.
Hmm. Yeah.
And as a consequence of this, Kovac has now been in storage for 250 years.
Yep.
Rather than the much shorter period he was in the book. Part of this is to make a plot point that's going to happen later that is really stupid work.
Yeah.
Because in this version, Kawahara is his sister somehow.
Yeah.
We'll get into that once it shows up in the show more. But yeah, anyway, so all of his envoy training is now completely unjustified by context, although they might try to make it. Oh yeah, and there are no envoys anymore.
Yeah,
like they were tiny. He's the last of the envoys. The rest are all dead.
He's the only one who survived because he's got to be special.
It doesn't make any sense why he would not have been erased.
Like
uprising against the Protectorate is definitely an erasure penalty crime. They don't let you get away with that.
No, not when having two versions of yourself out there is enough of one to get you real death.
Yeah, absolutely. This was done as, I think, part of like Kovac has to be super special. He has to be super interesting. So he has to be the only one, and he has to have been in storage for a stupidly long time, and he has to be an insane badass who can do all the drugs because he does all the drugs in a scene later on.
He does do all the future drugs. What's the name of the meth? Was it?
Well, there's tetrameth.
Tetrameth. That's right.
Tetrameth. That's 4 times the meth, Sean.
And there's Reaper and which will come up again later.
Yes, Stiff/Reaper or beta-thanatine.
Yes.
Anyway, I think the decision to try and make him super special interesting was incredibly misguided.
Yeah.
And it does not enhance the work, because he was already cool and interesting.
Well, I mean...
But he also wasn't omnipotent. Like, the amount that he gets his ass beat in this story is not going to make any goddamn sense next to the godlike being they've set him up as being.
Yeah. Look, the only thing I remember about the envoys from the book is that he'd left them, but there weren't as many as there used to be. I remember that was the thing. Like they used to be a big deal, but now they're not really. There's not really many left of them.
I don't think that's correct. I don't remember it being like that.
Well, no one's ever seen one. No one's ever met one. I mean, I guess because they're mostly for
yeah. The point is that they're basically treated as ghosts because if you meet an envoy, you probably won't know.
Yeah.
Also, your planet will shortly thereafter catch fire.
All the fires that are on your planet will shortly thereafter go out.
Listen, whatever kind of fire-based state transition your shitty little backwater requires, the Envoy Corps is there to facilitate it.
Yes. Starting or stopping, fires are happening.
It's all the good biz.
So yeah, they fucked that up, but there's a bunch of things like that like obviously they know the big points that they want to hit, the things that they've got to try and do for the overarching like mystery of who killed Bancroft to keep going. And then everything else they feel like they can just change.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up, Sean, because that's another point. On my list of shit.
Right.
So it's a mystery story. It's a detective story.
Yep.
In the finest tradition of detective stories like Sherlock Bones and Basil the Great Mouse Detective.
Yep.
And it's a pretty goddamn details-oriented detective story.
It is.
In the opening scenes, like in the stuff that we have already seen up till now in the show, a bunch of minor, very important things have happened that will only make sense later on.
Yes.
None of them take place in the show.
No.
These are the
Well,
off the top of my head. These are the ones that matter. Ortega shows up and gives him a pack of cigarettes.
Yep, which he already has when he gets out.
Yep. The telescope at Bancroft's residence is established that he doesn't use it ever.
Yep, except
which is bizarre because he just casually uses it.
Yep.
In this episode.
Oh no, it'll just be, rather than it being a dusty, disused thing, it'll be oh, look at the pre-programmed things I've got in here. Oh, one of them's this answer to the question that we'll have later on.
Yeah, I guess that's a way around it. But they changed it, therefore it's bad. Curtis the chauffeur is the one who recommends the Hendrix/Raven to Kovac and takes him there.
He's not Bancroft's son.
Yeah, well, Curtis still exists, but we also have Bancroft's son who's been added as a character for some goddamn reason.
Yeah,
he's established as having tons of kids, but none of them matter to the story.
Yeah, well, they haven't even mentioned that in the story. The fact that he's got shitloads of kids.
Yeah. Another important thing, Kovac is wearing the body of Ortega's boyfriend.
And ex-partner.
Who is currently in storage for crimes.
Mm-hmm.
And
police crimes.
Nothing, her demeanor towards him is very specifically described in the book.
Yeah.
None of that is present in the show.
Yeah. Also, I think I feel like she's laying on the accent really thick in the show.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know how people talk. All I do is read books and complain on the internet. I don't know how people be.
Yeah, it's just, look. There's lots of little.
A lot of this is going to sound like pointless complaining, given how little the show is.
Especially since we've only watched the first episode.
That's true, but already I feel we're off the rails.
There's the chance that they can start adding things in the second episode. Maybe the first episode was just like, all right, let's do some action-y shit, some basic mystery shit to get them in and get them bums on seats sort of thing, and then after that we'll start interweaving more.
Well, the bizarre thing is that Kovac turns Bancroft down in this.
Yeah.
Which is such a weird twist on his character. He's a lot of things, but he's not an idealist, I don't think. He's not going to refuse to help someone just because fuck all these people. My cause was defeated 200 years ago, and I'm going back in the freezer.
Yeah. You're rich and therefore I hate you.
Well, I mean, there's certainly that is certainly present in the book, but he's not going to spite himself pointlessly. I mean, the thing that they go into in the book is that even if people can afford to get themselves re-sleeved indefinitely, most people don't. They can face maybe 2 lifetimes of being a person.
Yeah.
And then they kind of have enough, and they just go into storage forever.
Yeah.
And one of even though occasionally he does struggle with the call of oblivion, one of the things about the envoy conditioning is it basically won't let you stop trying to be alive.
Won't stop, can't stop.
Won't stop, can't stop. And the idea that he just sit there casually contemplating blowing his stack out in the first freaking episode is just so out of character that it made me laugh.
Yeah, he's supposed to be he's an underdog in the book.
Oh, he's constantly on the back foot from woe to go, which is so. The even though envoys are quick to adapt to new sleeves, they set a level for it in the book. The fact that he walks around for several hours and has coherent conversations with 2 or 3 different people is considered virtually superhuman. He immediately sleeps for 12 hours after this. Like, he barely keep it together. In the show, he goes on a massive drug bender and orders a dozen whores. He's up for anything. He's super Kovac.
although he doesn't. I don't think he actually gets the whores.
Well, ultimately no, because a bunch of people get shot.
Yeah. Look. All complaining aside, all issues with the adaptation aside, I am interested to see where it goes. I think, for someone who's never read the book and just wanted a cool sci-fi show to get into, this is awesome. For someone who has read the book and wants to see the adaptation, like us, you might have problems. Unlike us, you might not complain about them on the internet. Go and watch it. Like, there's no reason for you not to, really.
Yeah, I look. Most of my grousing is going to be about adaptation problems,
Yeah.
concerns, but I mean, it looks friggin' gorgeous. It's entertaining and actiony, and it's got all the stuff in it. And if you didn't, I didn't turn you off by bitching about it for 40 minutes, then you should definitely go see it.
I mean, I really like the guy who they're getting to play. I'm not going to say his name because that may ruin plot points later on. But the guy who Kovac is currently inhabiting.
Yep.
I really like that guy. And he got really fucking big for this. He honestly looks like he's built like a carrot.
It's got the heroic trapezoid. Not trapezoid, the heroic triangle. There we go.
Yeah, he is ridiculously ripped. And, like, fan service for that in the first 10 minutes of the show, too. Like, he stands up and you see everything but the penis. And he is just there.
I have to say, I found the slow zoom out of naked man butt to be slightly absurd.
You gotta give it. Did
the man butt met with your approval?
It didn't bother me. You gotta give the people. You gotta give the people what they want, Chris. And in this day and age, it's man butt.
It's just beef. It's just give him some a big old side of beef.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't see dick. To be honest, I assume like.
Well, hey, Sean, you can't say dick on the internet.
What? Can't I?
Haven't you heard? Standards and practices. You can't say dick on the internet.
Well, we're not saying it on the internet, right? Well, I mean, we are because we're talking to each other over the internet. Oh, God. Are they listening? Do they know?
Whether they're listening or not, and whether you're listening or not, I think this is the end of the first episode of Carbony Bronze.
That sounds like a good place to end to me.
All right, fantastic. Thanks for tuning in.
And we'll see you for the next one, whenever that is.
Honk down.